It's Reefer Madness, the podcast, with Trevor and Kirk.
Well, hey guys, welcome to the Carefully Cooking with Cannabis episode.
Kirk, who are we?
We are Trevor and Kirk. We are Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness, the podcast.
And we are recording from a private residence this evening, practicing a very lawful
Cooking with cannabis. Carefully cooking with cannabis.
The chemistry of carefully cooking with cannabis. So yesterday we built our infusions and we were talking to Delta 9 chef Matt.
Yeah, he was really interesting.
Yeah, Kirk, that was a clip from a party we had.
Last night, man. Last night we were carefully cooking with cannabis.
And being very, very responsible, but we had a good time.
Yeah, and why were we carefully cooking with cannabis?
As of October 17th, 2018, Canada has recreational legal marijuana.
Hey, do you hear those stomping footsteps?
That's everybody rushing into their local pop shop to buy something, right?
No, my friend, that is all the research that's going to happen and come out of Canada now that we can ethically research cannabis. I want to challenge all the academics out there. We are finally legal. We're not going to fall into the same issues the states are finding with we got independent states that are legal, but the federal government is not. So therefore, academic research is very difficult because you have to get federal approval.
But yeah, you could have like NRC, National Research Council money now researching cannabis. And that's fantastic because how many times we've heard we need more research. Canada should hopefully now be a world leader in cannabis research.
So Reefer Madness is challenging academics, professionals, laymen, undergrad students. Let's research cannabis. Let's do it. Let's become the leading country of the world researching cannabis so that we can get the answers to all the anecdotal research that the cannabis culture is so excited about.
Yeah, no, there's lots of good stuff, and we're going to learn good stuff, bad stuff, but we need to learn more stuff about cannabis, and we know we have smart people out there that can do it. I hear you were at a store on October 17th.
Dauphin is very special. For those of you that are living outside of Manitoba and listening to us, thank you. Let us know that who's out there. We can see you on SoundCloud, but you can always drop us a line or respond to some of our social media. But Manitoba is an interesting place. We have Winnipeg, which is the largest city in our province, and maybe 1 million people?
I think 700,000, but majority of the people in Manitoba live in Winnipeg.
And they live inside of something called the Perimeter Highway. And in Manitoba, there's a colloquialism called the perimeteritis. So I made a joke on Instagram about us being the first rural Manitoba site to have a weed shop.
Yeah, no, and we beat the part I liked is forget Manitoba. Dauphin has a cannabis shop before Toronto. Well, now all of Ontario, they're having some issues with their whole how they're going to sell and when it's going to be sold. But yeah, Dauphin.
So I went,
little old Dauphin.
Yeah, so I went to the cannabis shop. I interviewed a couple people, streeters. One, I went in there with my phone and interviewed one fella right at the moment after he bought it. So he's the first fella in rural Manitoba.
First outside of Winnipeg.
Rural Manitoba. And sorry, Brandon. Sorry, Thompson. Okay, your cities, but we're calling it rural. To buy cannabis. And then as I was walking to the store the second time, I ran into an old friend of mine, acquaintance of mine. I didn't know she did weed, and I got her. She walks out with this little...
She seemed pretty happy.
Oh, she was very happy by buying her legal weed. And so let's listen to them. So did you know that Dauphin is the fifth store in Manitoba? So you're the first rural Manitoban to buy cannabis legally. What's your name?
My name is Demeric Catchway, and originally I'm from around here, so it's a great feeling. It's an honor.
Yeah.
It's something that it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
To be a part of. Yeah, very.
So what do you think about legalization in Canada?
I think it should have been done a long time ago, but it's here, it's now, so
okay.
Let's begin. Let's get it going.
So you just bought legal weed.
I just bought legal weed.
What did you think of that?
I never thought the day would come, but here it is. It was a good experience.
Now, this isn't your first time using weed, do you use it medicinally or not? Do you want to say that?
I've used it both medicinally and recreationally. Yes.
Okay, so buying legal weed.
Yeah.
So Trevor, I walked in and bought my first legal weed in Canada. So I guess now that Canada is a legal jurisdiction for cannabis, I can out myself. I am of my demographic. I have been known to indulge in weed over the years, the decades, and myself and my neighbor, 70-year-old fella, we go and buy some weed.
I like the pictures of the two of you on Instagram.
Yeah. So there we are outside in the mall, opening our product and looking at it. This woman walks past us and goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm looking at my weed." She smiled and she said, "Isn't that interesting?" So we got into a conversation with her. She told me that she is a probation officer.
Oh, well, that's an interesting perspective. So, what does she have to say about legal weed?
We had a conversation about weed. It was really normal and very comfortable. And
so you're saying normalization happened within minutes of the store opening?
It did for me, and it did for this probation officer. And as we're standing outside the Safeway, looking at our weed, nobody stopped. Nobody, there wasn't this great big rush of evildoers in black capes, and the sun didn't shade over. It was quite interesting, and it was interesting because her question to me was, "What do you think about legal weed?" I said, "I should be asking you that." I said, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's cool. And we went on to the research. So, probation officer stopped me, and she walked away smiling, thinking no big deal. It wasn't a big deal for her.
Yeah, interesting times. I
handed her a business card because apparently her husband has PSTD and uses cannabis. So she was very interested. So we got one more listener.
One at a time. You can listen to us even if Kirk doesn't personally hand you a card, but if you see him somewhere, he probably will hand it to you.
I will hand you a card. What's really curious? I'm in bed tonight. We had our cooking carefully with cannabis. Cooking with cannabis with Kirk and Trevor. So we slept in. Michelle and I slept in this morning. And the phone's ringing. Usually if the phone is ringing, it's work related or something's happening, right? So it's a buddy of mine who is not a cannabis-centric person, says, "Hey, Kirk, I'm reading the internet, and did you know there's 45 things that are happening with legal weed in the States?" "Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you probably know. I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you." "Okay, thank you for waking me up to talk about weed."
That's on everybody's mind right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's an MSN post, so I went to it and started looking at it, and there's 45 things that they're saying. Now, I don't know if this is fake news, but some of the things that they put out there is that in the States where cannabis is legal, they've seen a drop in crime, they've seen a drop in use of opiates, they've seen a lot of stuff, right? And we've been talking about this over the last year, that there has been some positive things. One of the biggest issues in the States, of course, is the federal government isn't online with the state government, so there's a real mishmash of stuff happening. What's cool about Canada is our federal government has said cannabis is legal. So now the provincial governments, of course, have put in regulations that almost seem like it's Prohibition 2.0.
Well, to give them some credit, I think everyone is just being extra cautious. And I know it's going to annoy a lot of people, and I know there's going to be some quote-unquote unnecessary fines, but being cautious. I think even Mr. Legary said a few episodes ago, it's probably easier to be overcautious now and then roll back some of the fines and regulations later.
Well, it's been interesting to observe this as a podcaster and somebody who's hyper vigilant about cannabis issues. There was a point of time there where there's a lot of education coming out from radio broadcasters, right? National radio broadcasters, CTV, CBC. They were putting out lots of positive stuff. About 2 weeks before legalization, did you notice a change?
Yeah, it was all about all the evil things will happen. Now, I'm going to put in a plug for one of my favorite shows. I think they did a great job. Quirks and Corks on CBC did a really good episode on, I think they called it the Great Ganja Experiment, and I thought they were really balanced, but I know you had some beefs with some of the other ones.
I had some beefs with some of the other ones that they had experts speaking, and we're both CBC listeners and CKDM listeners locally. But do I name the show? Do I out the show White Coat Black Art? I mean, I like the show. He does a very good job of presenting an argument. I found his experts, they would say a sentence that was, okay, well, although benign, cannabis is X, but then they would bring something else into it, like smoking. Somebody asked a question about smoking cigarettes, and is cannabis worse than smoking cigarettes? And the guy, the expert went on to say, well, we don't really know a lot about cannabis, but we do know that when people mix cannabis with tobacco, then it's bad. And it's, well, but you're not answering the question about cannabis, right? Because we don't really know. We think we understand that if you light up and breathe in a combustible product, that it's going to harm your lungs, right?
Yeah, that's the whole idea behind vapes is it goes at a lower temperature, so we get less of those polyaromatic hydrocarbons, or those products of combustion. So, but yeah, I agree. The news seemed to be looking for the worst case scenarios, but those are better headlines.
Well, certainly, and I don't disagree with preparing the public for cannabis legalization, because there are people out there that don't know about it. Going back to our local store, I went back into it a couple of times, again, preparing and talking to people. I was watching the people that are walking in. There were people that were walking in who I don't think had anything to do with the cannabis, but they just wanted to walk in and look at the store, and they walked out. There are people traveling up from Winnipeg that come to our store because the lineups were too long. There are people from Brandon coming to our store because they don't have a store in Brandon.
And just give people out there an idea, if you're not from around here, it's a 3.5 hour drive from Winnipeg or a 2 hour drive from Brandon. So cannabis tourism. People are driving all day to see the Dauphin store. And
hopefully buying other stuff from Dauphin so that our economy goes up. But getting back to the education, our podcast is all about education. As a nurse, I wanted to learn about cannabis from experts. As a pharmacist, you had some qualms about how your professional association treats cannabis.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that more in another episode, but it's silly and doesn't make any sense that it doesn't go through pharmacies, especially the medical end, because someone might be on other stuff and we want to know if there's an interaction, or people have questions. People call, like, it would not be that weird for someone to call and say, I'm a functional alcoholic, I drink a ton, I'm not interested in stopping, but I am worried about how this is affecting my medication. And that would be a question I'd be expected to answer. But with some of how the college is wording, I've had colleagues say, I'm afraid if someone calls and asks, I'm using cannabis and I'm on this medication, what should I do? They're afraid to answer that, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Different rant for a different day.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I get back to work, I've been off for a couple of weeks here. When I get back to work, I think my practice will change because cannabis is now legal. But I've also spent the last few weeks here getting some education from the cannabis culture, what we're calling the green culture, the people who have been involved with the cannabis industry, the medicinal cannabis industry for the last 10, 15 years. And they've been offering me a great education. And so there's more episodes coming. We're rushing this episode out because it just happened last night. We're going to, let's get into carefully cooking with cannabis.
So before we get into the party, though, we have a few experts. First guy is really neat. Kirk had met him a few times before, but I met him first at there was a cannabis expo in Winnipeg a few times, and when I met him, he was pouring liquid nitrogen into a blender, which was a very cool effect. Tell me a little bit about Joel.
Yeah, Joel Carlton. He is a mixologist. He's gone down to the States and picked up on some education with cannabis, and he doesn't like to use the word sommelier, cannabis sommelier, because the wine industry doesn't like that. But he's essentially an expert. Now, he gave me a new term in our interview, terpene and interpreter. So it's an interpreter. Put the words there.
Yeah, he's an interpreter, but, jam the word terpene in there.
In there, yeah. So it's my speech.
Sorry, Joel. We might need a better word for you.
You're
very knowledgeable.
It's very knowledgeable. Let's hear what he has to say about this new industry in cannabis.
Joel Carlton. A lifelong lover of flavors and food and drink and exciting new kind of stuff like that. And cannabis is kind of similar to those things. And so here I am. My background is in mixology and craft cocktails. I've studied this and food pairings and alcohol and beverage cocktails, beer, wine, all those things, how their aromas, their flavors, and all these things. And then we take that, and now I'm studying cannabis interpreting. I'm studying cannabis sommelier, as well as attending pop-ups and working with chefs to do cannabis-infused edibles and beverages, such as ice cream and beverages as well.
Cool. So you're creating yourself a niche job within a new industry.
Yeah, that's the idea. I know that there's a lot of things we don't know, but one of the things that we do know is that Canadians are going to want to access accurate information about cannabis, and they're going to want to access reviews from a trusted source where someone will say, hey, I bought this cannabis and I tried it, or I bought this and I looked at it and I evaluated the quality. These are things that are very popular in the food and beverage spectrum, reviews of beverages and food and restaurant reviews. And I think that people are going to want that information. So to carve out this niche for myself, being the first to market in Manitoba as a cannabis connoisseur, an analysis and evaluation expert or specialist, is I think something that Manitoba needs. And I'm hoping to bring a lot of value to Manitoba and keep it competitive.
So our next clip is Chef Matt from Delta 9 Chefs. And so at this point, picture us starting to melt some butter on the stove because we were going to clarify some butter and infuse it with cannabis. He didn't say don't do that, but he gave us some better ideas. Tell us a little bit about Matt.
Well, now Matt is a gentleman I've met online through Instagram. He's from Toronto. And he gave us such a great interview we keep saying this, Trevor, we get these great interviews that we want to put out, but it doesn't fit into the format today's Cooking with Cannabis. So we're going to do just a plug of what he said to us, and please look forward to a future episode with him. But he talks about creating infusions. Now, you're the pharmacist, and as he was talking to us, I could see a little light bulb going off in your head, and it was like, boop.
Oh, yeah. Like what he talks about is very similar to what I do in the compounding lab. So the biggest pearl he gave us is if you make an infusion with cannabis, like you put it in an oil, it's going to taste, and depending on the person, grassy, chlorophyll-y, greeny, but it's going to have a plant-like taste, and that's not necessarily what you want in a food. And so his suggestion, what he does is something completely different. He actually uses rosins, which we just didn't have the capability of doing. So barring that, just try to make as potent a oil extract as we can, and then just use a wee little bit of it in our food so we can get the cannabinoids we want into the food, but leave the greeny taste behind.
So what we did is we took 5 grams of a strain called chocolate fondue, and we put that strain into the oven, and we
decarboxylated it.
Thank you. So we put it in the oven at about 160 to 170, 180. Now, what was interesting is that we did this on Friday night, and we were talking to Delta 9 chef Matt, but we had a couple cannabis cowboys show up, and these are fellas that I've met over the last several years in Dauphin.
They were so helpful.
Oh, man. And now this is what I was saying to you before, that this podcast has allowed us to meet people. And these guys have approached me. These guys are of the green culture. They've been growing their own medicine for about a decade, and they know how to dose. So we started the evening with an understanding of what we're going to do. Through talking to a cannabis chef, and talking to the cannabis cowboys, we came up with a whole different way of doing it.
Well, and even suggestions you wouldn't have thought of, like our cannabis cowboys, they stress strongly that, tell people not to drink. Especially if this is going to be their first experience with cannabis, just leave the alcohol behind. It's just not safe to mix the two, probably ever, but especially if this is going to be your first time. And he reiterated so many times, low dose, start slow, start low, go slow. So he was really, we were planning on that anyway, but our cannabis cowboy was really big into the safety.
Yeah, and our podcast is about education. Our podcast is about creating a conversation around cannabis. Now, it's cannabis is now legal. So as a registered nurse, I'm a little bit more comfortable speaking my mind a little bit more about cannabis because it's legal now. It's like if I decided to have a Scotch tasting podcast. But what I really enjoyed about what we did last night is we had some. Well, you were probably the youngest person in the crowd, right?
Yeah. Which is crazy. I'm 46, so I'll out myself on that. But at 46, I was the spring chicken. So this isn't your typical wild teenage party.
No, we had a 74-year-old in the crowd, and everyone else was in their 50s and 60s. And these are not people that sit around smoking grass. These are
Regular people.
They're regular people, professionals. We had artists. We had people there who came because we put out an invite. Come join us. Trevor and I are going to record an episode. We had people join us, and what a great time we had. And so we had the Cannabis Cowboys come in on Friday. We interviewed Chef
Matt.
Yeah, so Delta 9 Chef Matt. So I guess maybe why don't we fit in his what he was telling us?
Off to Chef Matt.
Right. So from my experience, and this is why I've moved on, I went and got myself a rosin press. So now I'm pressing out rosin.
Right.
And I can control my temperature time of pressing and my pressure of pressing, my duration of press time to get different kind of consistencies with my rosin and have like super high terpene rosin or like high production. But you sacrifice one for the other. I find with the buds themselves, you're going to find yourself, it's going to be a lot of, it's chlorophyll. It's greeny. It'll have that taste.
Okay.
And for myself, like, I'm a cannabis advocate. I've been growing since last century. I've been researching cannabis since last century. I'm a fighter for it. Have been for years. I love cannabis. I hate the taste of it in my food. So what's happened is by putting in the rosin, and now I'm not having as many. I don't have the chlorophyll there anymore. I can do certain temps. I don't have those waxes there anymore. I don't have as many of those fats there anymore. I'm just having like nice, pure resin. And then I'm getting really nice flavors out of that. And that's when we're finding we can really pair it with food.
So from there, I'm going to pass it on to the pharmacist because this is where your scientific mind just came into play. What did we do? We created an avocado oil, we created an olive oil, and we created cream for ice cream. Go for it.
Yeah, so we did math because I like math. And now don't be intimidated. We've mentioned before, we'll have to put a link to there are cookbooks that you don't have to do the math, but we double check the math because I'm a pharmacist and we like doing that. So if you start with the weight of the bud, the flower that you're using, and if it says 17% THC, that's just literally 17% by weight. I say literally way too much. So if you had 10 grams for easy math, then it would be 1.7 grams of THC or 1,700 milligrams of THC. And you just divide that amount, the number of items you're making. So the number of meatballs, the number of cookies, and you'll know how much is going to be in each dose. So what we did is we put it in different oils. So after decarbing it in the oven, we did one in an olive oil, one in a avocado oil, and the third one was in the cream for the ice cream.
Right. Now, decarbing it. Decarbing, why do we do that?
Okay, so if you just ate a bud, you would get THCA in you. Now, some people medicinally like the effect of THCA, but THCA is not traditionally the psychoactive ingredient that most people are looking for recreationally. It's not the stuff that gets you high. To get to THC, which is what most people are looking for that high, you have to get rid of an acid group. That's the A part. So you decarboxylate it or take off that acid chunk of the THC, and you do that by heating it.
So we did that in the oven. We took it out. You grind it up to a flour. So you take the flour and make a flour out of it in that consistency. And we put it into the oil, the fat, because now the fat is what draws the psychotropic components, the cannabinoids.
Yeah, the cannabinoids, they're great big, we call them lipotrophic molecules. So they'll dissolve in fat. So that's why we have the oils to get them out of the out of the plant material.
So now Michelle and I did that overnight. So we put them in slow cookers and we allowed it to diffuse into the oils. On Saturday morning, I take the cheesecloth and I strain the oils and put them into nice little jars. My wife loves collecting jars.
Yeah, you had a nice collection there.
Yeah, so now we have these wonderful jars with high potency oils with THCs. Now, for those people that do this, be very careful when you lick your fingers after squeezing, because it didn't.
What he's saying is don't lick your fingers. Don't be Kirk. Don't lick your fingers.
Don't lick your fingers. I mean, you like to take the raw cookie dough. Anyway, so I squeezed them out, put them in, and that's what we did in the morning. And about 2 hours later, I go to Michelle and going, oh, I think I licked my fingers after that. And I think, you know what, Trevor? You made some good infused oils.
We did okay on the infused oils. But the other, and again, being a pharmacist, label your bottles. Unlabeled bottles are terrible. Label how much, like how many milligram per ml. And just to be safe when we're dosing later. But again, you don't have to do it the way we did it. This was to try to reduce the grassy flavor and to make sure we're dosing as carefully as we could.
Yes.
But there are cookbooks, again, we'll link to them, where if you don't like all the math we're discussing, you can just follow their charts. They're very good.
And what makes cooking with cannabis good and helpful for people who are trying to experience cannabis is you can dose it properly. Now, the industry standard, according to the cookbook we have and other people I've talked to, is usually about 10 milligrams of the THC, the psychoactive component of the cannabis, is about 10 milligrams. That's what you want. So what we did is we dosed ours at 2.5.
Yeah, like 2.5 per meatball, 2.5 per cookie.
Yeah, and 2.5 through 2 tablespoons or whatever servings of the ice cream. That way, our friends, the people that came to the party, could dose appropriately. So there's a picture of Trevor on Instagram literally taking a syringe out and measuring the can of oil. And Michelle had prepared the food for us. Well, we helped her, but she basically organized it.
We were her sous chefs.
Yeah, so we had non-cannabis meal for people, and then we made the cannabis meal as we went. And so again, that's what we did.
We did some cooking. Here's a little clip of that.
Yeah. So what's the menu? What's on the menu?
All right, we've got meatballs. We have
meatballs with chocolate fondue weed or cannabis.
Okay, and then the ice cream is going to have more of a balanced THC CBD.
It's basically a mixed hybrid of cannabis that basically has a high CBD content at 9% and a THC content of 7%. And our thought was that we will have the meatballs with, if you would like, cannabis-infused meatballs as the main course with couscous, and we have a pepper tomato salad. And then in an hour or so later, we'll make the ice cream, and the ice cream will have a lot of CBD in it and should balance off the THC from the meatballs. Then we move into cookies.
And then cookies, and that was with the lemon skunk. And again, it'll be a high THC one. Now, here's where the math comes in. We are going for like 2.5 milligrams per serving. So it's going to be a low dose. So the assumption would be everyone's going to eat 2 meatballs. They can eat whatever else they want. And of course, we have non-cannabis options at our party as well.
Okay, so we talked to Joel. We talked to Delta 9 chef Matt. We also talked to a local Winnipeg chef, Chef Allen, and he got more specific on the dosing. And what I found interesting is that if you listen to the end of what he says, we were dosing appropriately.
I think so, yeah. And I think we followed his mantra of going low and slow.
You know what? It's kind of hard because there's not much studies there yet. I mean, everybody's body's different. So, like everybody says, like to go low and slow. But I think we're going to be working with Red River pretty soon. So we're probably going to try to figure out, why does this person get affected more than the next person with this body type or like this ethnicity or stuff like that. But I don't know. Until then, I would just say dose to your liking, right? Like I like 50 to 100 milligrams myself.
50 to 100. So you do 50 and 100 in an evening.
Yeah, that's for me, right? And then I know Dr. Shelley was saying beginners should start with 2 to 4.
So, Kirk, we call this carefully cooking with cannabis. And I think we were quite responsible about it. We had non-cannabis options. You know, my wife had no interest in doing any cannabis at all. She was there, so she had non-cannabis food options. We told people who were going to use cannabis that we didn't recommend they use alcohol. We did the dosing as carefully as we could. I think we did a good job on that. So I think this is how you could do a responsible party.
And I think that's important because the whole point of legalization is proper education, not fear education. And our podcast is about giving people options. So this is why we're rushing this episode out. Cooking with cannabis responsibly is a good way, an interesting way to explore cannabis as a recreational, non-medicinal product that's out there.
And along that lines, you were giving instructions to everybody about using a particular app.
Yes. Well, Strain Print in episode 6, The Advocates, season 1, episode 6, we talked to advocates, and one of those advocates has an app called Strain Print. I encouraged the people who weren't avid cannabis users to use the app. So we had a little app education at one point, and it was interesting to see how the evening progressed and how, as the cannabis was becoming more evident in some behaviors, some of our people had some difficulties using their phone, but that's fine. I mean, that'll come with time. But and everybody, we ensured everybody had a proper ride home. So I think we were very responsible, and that's why we wanted to do this, because it's just another way of using cannabis.
So we ate the meatballs. Some time went by. Now back to the party.
So all those people who are using Strain Print, if you want to open up the Strain Print, just this is the chocolate fondue strain that's in the meatballs. So one meatball has 2.5 milligrams of sativa dominant cannabis, right?
2.5 milligrams of THC.
Of THC of the sativa dominant cannabis.
So can I ask a silly question?
No silly questions.
Why do they call it chocolate fondue? Is there something that they've done with it?
That's what it smells like. Really.
It smells like that.
Yeah, if you,
Okay.
I'll get you the container. You can actually smell chocolate, and apparently that comes from the terpenes. The terpenes have a chocolate. Yeah, help yourself. Darlene's right in the game. All right, so there you go. So, bon appetit. Yeah, so there is non-cannabis as well as cannabis. That's cannabis.
So, Kirk, that was a good party.
It was an enjoyable party. I think everyone had fun. Yeah, but we're doing a podcast here, and we want feedback. We want feedback from our listeners. So we're looking for people to tell us, how did you spend your Wednesday? How did you spend your October? I have a question for you.
Sure.
October 17th was the first anniversary death of
Gord Downey of the Tragically Hip.
Coincidence?
I don't know, but it's interesting to think about.
Well, let's start the conspiracy out there that Justin Trudeau honored his friend by legalizing weed on his anniversary date. We'll perpetuate
that's good enough for me.
Now, having said that, this is a podcast. This particular episode is unsponsored. We're looking for sponsors to help us with this podcast. If you like this podcast, please tell your friends.
Grab their phone, show them how to use podcasts, because we know there's some people who really like to listen to this but can't quite download it yet.
We've had a huge increase in numbers in the last couple of weeks. People are picking up on us. Tell a friend. I think we've got something here. And if you've got a business that's online or something, and we can help you. We do have listeners. We have listeners all over the world. We have listeners in Australia. Hey, guys. We have listeners in Germany. Hey, guys. We have listeners in California. Hey, how's California? Right? Let us know. Social media.
So we're on all of them there, social medias, at Refurb Madness on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah.
And the home of everything Refurb Madness is our website, reefermed.ca. Tell us how you celebrated. What did you do for Weed Wednesday? What responsible party did you go to?
And don't forget my cannabis story. We're going to be doing more of that. We've got a few in the can that we have to get on. Now, having get to there, we also like to showcase local musicians.
Yeah, you've got a good one.
It's Ed Stozik. Now, Ed Stozik is a local phenomenon. He is an old high school history teacher. He's written many books on local history. He sings songs about history. If you go to Thrasher's Day, if you go to the museum, anything to do with Dauphin Parkland history, Ed will be up with his guitar and his microphone, and he'll be singing one of his original songs. As I've said before, when you were listening to 10 Stone, I said, turn this up to 11. It's a good rock and roll song.
So this one, picture you're sitting around a campfire. Ed pulls out the guitar and away he goes.
And away he goes. He's speaking about Kippen Mill, which is just 10 kilometers south of us. Come back and listen to us. Let us know how you do, how you like this. Let us know how we can do it better. If you got a story, tell us. Reefer Madness, the podcast.
Well, time to blow this joint. Like the show? Let us know. We're Reefer Madness on Instagram and Facebook, at Reefer Madness on Twitter, or head over to the website at reefermed.ca to find out what we're all about and what's coming up next. Talk to you later.
Last night the northern lights were dancing across the sky. I could see Orion's belt and the moon go drifting by. Today I saw the sundogs cradling the sun. They are the omens of the cold days to come. Step outside and face the cold, drive the horses down the hill. Piled a sleigh so full of logs, cut 'em up at Kippen's Mill. Today I saw the sundogs cradling the sun. They are the omens of the cold days to come. Thank God for the bunkhouses, we don't have to sleep outside. Even though it's so bitter cold, we'll make it through the night. Today I saw the sundogs cradling the sun. They are the omens of the cold days to come. Tonight I'll see Kippen himself, he'll get his share of the take. Tomorrow I'll see the Sawmill Boys, I'll be on my way. Last night the northern lights were dancing across the sky. I could see Orion's belt and the moon go drifting by. Today I saw the sundogs cradling the sun. They are the omens of the cold days to come.
So, Trevor, you discovered that any time that you smoked pot before legalization,
I was already drunk.
You're already drunk. So last night, was the first time you ever got high just on cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah, we sat on your front step, and then I walked home with my wife afterwards. It was nice. Some Bodie McBoatface from our local store, high CBD, so I wasn't real stoned, but felt good.
But you also had 2 meatballs, ice cream, and a cookie.
I did, so maybe I was a well balanced stoned.
Do you have any new growth anywhere in your body?
No horn out the forehead, anything.
No, so you survived it. You got home okay?
I got home okay. Yeah,
cool, man.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no worries. Bye. See ya. We'll edit that one, I guess. Eh?